Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Listings and Lullabies, a girl dad's journey with your host, Varun Verma. My name is Vikas Sandhi, and we would like to welcome all of y'all back to a very special episode 3. And so real quick, for those that listen to it on Spotify or Apple and just get the audio version, you're not going to see or you're not going to hear much different things than what's going on. But anyone that watches our episodes or sees the clips on social media, you are going to notice very quickly that we are not in our usual studio, 5 Iron Golf, shout out in downtown Cincinnati. We are virtual for our first ever virtual episode. And so, Varun, I'm going to ask you, brother, because I don't want to take the thunder away, why are we doing this one virtual? And this is our first guest for this season, season 2.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about why we're doing it this way, brother.
Yeah, our budget ran out, man. We didn't get enough viewers and listeners, so it is what it is.
That's awesome. I did not expect you to say that.
Yeah. No, that joke just kind of popped in my head. But no, we are all kind of off-site, if you will. We have a super amazing guest, just kind of continuing the vibe from our previous guest. But this one is not in person. She's out in the West Coast, and she is the author and creator of this amazing book called The Girl Dad, which I have referenced a few times in a few of our episodes. And we were fortunate enough to be introduced and connected to her by a previous guest, Jaydev. So just goes to show kind of who's in our circles and who's in their outer circles, and everyone's connected. So fortunate enough to be connected with the author of Girl Dad, Madeline Anderson, and she's just wonderful. She's got so much insight in this book. And you would think, okay, The Girl Dad, so you've written by a father of a daughter. No, completely opposite what you think. It's actually the perspective of a daughter. So super excited to introduce her to all of our viewers and listeners. And I think without further ado, let's bring her on.
All right. So let's let Madeline in at this time.
What is up, Madeline? Say hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we are super excited to have you on, as we connected before the show started and previously, and just told the viewers and listeners about how we got connected by a previous guest, and really excited to have you on. So if you'd like to take it away, tell our viewers and listeners who you are, what you're about, and why you're here.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So my name is Madeline. I am the oldest daughter of 3 girls. And so my dad is major girl dad, if you couldn't tell already. But yeah, I grew up in Southern California, went to UCLA, and I currently live in Hermosa Beach. So I've kind of stayed in this region my whole life, but I do love traveling. And I started writing Girl Dad when I was 22, and it has been the most amazing experience. So now I'm an author, professional speaker, and founder of Girl Dad Network, which is an online membership community for dads with daughters.
Awesome. Real quick, before you guys dive in, I know you guys are going to dive in, but since you're from SoCal, just prayers to LA, to California, and all the things that they've been going through lately. So just wanted to shout that out real quick. But take it away, buddy.
I echo that.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us about this amazing book and your journey, The Girl Dad. Obviously a different perspective from the daughter, but I was fortunate enough to read it. I was gifted this book by my brother, actually, kind of early on when we had Ziana. And it's just an amazing perspective. And to me, it's like a resource guide of kind of how to be a good dad, a good girl dad, and just things that we can do to include her in experiences that we have, things that she will remember. And sometimes I get anxiety while reading the book and referencing it, because I'm like, okay, wait, let's get her to this stage so I can do this about it. But then you also remind the readers that, every journey is to enjoy it, experience it, live it, and love it. So why don't you share about the book, your journey to writing this book and becoming an author?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. I feel like you just gave a great description of the book.
You did. You did. I know.
A plus. No, it really is. It's a heartfelt book for dads, and I really wanted it to just be authentic and have lots of stories and lessons and advice on how to have a great relationship with your daughter. And I wanted it to be positive and uplifting because I know it can be stressful to, find out you're having a girl if you've never experienced that before, or just the idea of being a new dad. I'm sure that can, be stressful. And so I wanted this to be a book that when dads finish reading it, they had this sense of like, all right, let's go. I'm so excited. I could do this. And so that's kind of the tone throughout the book. And I think that the stories from interviews that I had with both dads and daughters is really what stands out the most. And what I am told by dads who've read the book is they really favorite the ones with the daughters. And I think it is because there's plenty of resources out there for dads, from other dads, but hearing directly from daughters about what their dads did to make their relationship so notable and special is really unique and exciting for dads to read about.
Yeah, that's amazing because I really enjoyed that part as well. Just hearing just the story that others went through, not only yours, but others in terms of different experiences they had from their dads being a coach, or I believe it was your dad built this amazing kind of girl cave for you and your sisters and all that. So I started looking on Home Depot how to build a girl.
Oh boy.
While I'm in real estate, I'm not that handy, Fun fact.
That's true. That is true. I can attest to that.
Yeah, I usually have the
That's
contractors handle.
amazing.
But no, that's so amazing about how you decided to kind of tell the story in perspective from your angle of it, because there's other, of course, books out there, not to knock them or anything, but this is such a unique perspective that is so helpful for, I think, every man that is told that they're going to be a father of a daughter just goes through so many different wild emotions because they're worried about, how they're going to be, how the world will treat them, how life will be, how it may be tougher or easier than having a boy and all that stuff. And this book is just so calming in the sense of, it in some sense simplifies it, because a lot of your points in there are, simple in terms of, okay, yeah, disconnecting like we talked on the last episode, spending time, trying not to, bail on certain things that you have set with her, or helping. One thing that resonated with me really well also was a part in your book that, yes, you interviewed, some of the dads you interviewed were CEOs, CFOs or whatnot, pretty important people that have way crazier, busier schedules than us, but how to make sure that either they're including their daughter in their kind of work world, and also making sure that when they're with their daughter, just spending time on that. And I'm rambling again because it's just reminding me of the book, because I was reading through it again.
How many times have you read this book? Because you got it down.
As you can see it behind here, it's like bent and stuff. And I was like, shoot, do I need to get a cleaner version for the episode? But I'm always, referencing and things. So, and I'm fangirling, of course, since we have you on. But let's talk about kind of, how did this come about? How did you sit down one day and say, I'm going to write, this book called The Girl Dad from the perspective of the daughter? So share with us that story of how you got to here.
Yeah, it's actually really amazing because I was driving in Santa Monica one day and I wasn't thinking about work or what I should do with my life or anything like that. And a thought just popped into my head, and it was, you should write a book called Girl Dad. And it was one of those moments where it felt like a life course turn, and I was really thinking about it. I'm like, wow, that's actually a great idea. I have an amazing relationship with my dad and I have so many stories to share. And so I called my dad and he was like, oh my gosh, yeah, you should totally do it. And you should put in this story and talk about this and that. And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do this. And so I went home and I started writing. And before I knew it, I was a few chapters deep, and then I realized, okay, my relationship with my dad is amazing, and my dad has so many stories to share, but there's so many other dads out there who have great relationships with their daughters, and I want to interview both of them, the dads and the daughters. And so that's kind of where this initiated. And from there, I started with my circle. So at the time I was 22, I was working in finance, and there was a lot of dads with daughters that were my colleagues. So I interviewed them. And then I had a lot of girlfriends who had great relationships with their dads. So I interviewed them from the girls' perspective. And then from there, it kind of snowballed. And so I'd always ask, like, do you have anyone else that you know? And so then they would refer me to somebody else, and then I would talk to their friend or their colleague or whatever. And so it became this whole network of amazing fathers and daughters. And I did reach out to some on, LinkedIn, and I saw some people who gave like TED Talks, and I reached out to them for an intro and stuff like that. But it was a domino effect or a snowball effect of my network and people that they knew that would be great for this book. So that's kind of how the book came to be. And I would just, go every Saturday in Santa Monica and write at a coffee shop. And before I knew it, about 2.5 years later, I realized I had, written almost 200 pages. I was like, oh, there's a book here. So that was the journey. But it really felt like so much fun. It felt like I was on my purpose, my life journey. And Rick Rubin has this amazing book, and he talks about how ideas, like, we are basically the vessels to bring ideas to life. And it was a really interesting perspective. And right when I read that, I thought immediately of Girl Dad and how this idea just kind of came to me, and I've just brought it to life. And I think there was a reason that I was, the one to do that, just because I do have this amazing father, and I have this amazing network of people that I was able to interview and put this book together to improve the lives of dads everywhere. So, and daughters. But it's been a great journey. But that was kind of the progression of when the idea came to publication.
That's awesome. Well, we thank you for sure for following that, thought or light bulb that hit your head, and you just kind of went with it. Because unfortunately, some people don't. They get some idea, but they feel they're already on a path that, was chosen for them, or they chose themselves. And then, they don't get to be that vessel, like you said, because this book and your journey, your experiences and others is definitely a vessel to share those highlights and experience and those moments of, being a girl dad or being the daughter of an amazing girl dad. So really cool story there. Yeah, something about that California sun, just writing a book, I guess. And I'm sure you got a lot of good inspiration there as well. Coffee shops, beaches, boats. I love California. Awesome. So what about some takeaways kind of in this journey? You said 2.5 years, it almost took you to, build 200 pages of a book. Kind of what were your main takeaways from the perspectives, experiences you learned about? Kind of what were those big lessons that you learned there?
Yeah, I think I learned a lot from both the dads and the daughters, but I feel like the most powerful lessons really did come from the daughters, because, they're explaining all these things that the dad did that made such an impact on them. And, dads can say everything that they did right or wrong, but I think really you need to hear from the daughters, because a lot of times there is a disconnect, and things that dads think they might have done wrong, maybe they're not even a big deal at all, right? And so hearing directly from the daughters and understanding what the dads did to help make their relationship so strong was really valuable. And I learned a lot of lessons in that. And I think that some recurring themes kept coming up, which is kind of how I realized, okay, let's, bucket these and kind of make a chapter out of this, because this is obviously very important. But I think, one that comes to mind is dating. This is something that most all of the girls talked about who were adult daughters or, young adults, and just the immense impact that the fathers have had on their choices when it comes to dating and the men that they have ended up with. And I think it's been a really beautiful thing to see, because a lot of these fathers, First and foremost, they set a really, really good example. So, we learn, us girls, or really children in general, are sponges when they're young, right? So that we learn by example. And if our fathers are treating their spouse with respect and love, and they're treating us with respect and love, and they're doing things for us that, somebody who is courting us or dating us should on paper do, right? Then that's what we learn to expect. And so I just had some really great conversations, not only about their dads setting up great examples, but also of their dads talking them through breakups and situations where they got cheated on, or, horrible relationship struggles, that their dads were able to show up and be there for them and help them have great takeaways from it and learn from the experience, and then move on to, a better potential partner. And, I was actually just talking to one of my best friends who got married a couple years ago to this amazing guy, and I'm engaged to an amazing guy as well. And we were just talking about how our dads had such an impact on us when it comes to dating, and just our expectations for what we want to find in a man. And it was just a beautiful conversation. So I think, that's one way that, and that's just like one small example. There's so many other examples of the impact that fathers have on us daughters, but I really think that it all comes down to intention, and dads who have intention around showing up for their daughters and getting to know their daughters and what they need. Those are the dads that have the biggest impact on their daughters. And so that would be probably like the most powerful lesson, or like the one thing that I would say was really strong throughout all of the conversations. It's so evident that when the dads set intentions to be good dads, they ended up following through with that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome, because it's funny. Yeah, one of the first thoughts that goes into a dad's mind is, their dating life, their marriage life. It's just one of the things that pop in there. And things that I've seen and read as well is just, you are the first male relationship with your daughter, and how you set that or guide through that, it will carry on with her in all of her relationships with men, whether it's with, a mentor perhaps, or, a relationship, and giving them that good relationship will set them up for success, because if they see certain things and in their environment growing up, it'll certainly affect on what's okay to them that may not and should not be okay. So that's awesome. So that's definitely a great lesson and a big impact for sure, and something that's on the minds of every girl dad for sure, 1000%. So it's on us. It's on us, the fathers, to make sure that their relationships with men going forward is loving, is caring, is solid, and makes them, our daughter, feel worth their every ounce they are. So
But are you ready for Ziana to date one day? I don't know. I can't see you ever doing that.
Well, she actually has this. I don't know if they're like boyfriend. She's 21 months, but she always talks about this kid at daycare with her, and it's anytime we're like, Ziana, you ready to go to school? It's not a yes or a no or any other response. It's the boy's name, and we're like, okay. And then she's all the time to anybody else. Anytime we reference school or anything, she says his name. So it starts early. So I got to meet the guy's parents. I got to see what they're out. So, but no, it hits you just out of the blue, but it's always something on your mind. And it's, yes, how I treat my wife, goes a long way. How I treat even my mom or other women that Avisha or Ziana sees is a huge impact, and we've got to be mindful of that. And having the good intentions to be present, be with your daughter versus, oh, okay, I've got to go to this, I've got to go to that, not just something that's on your calendar, or anything like that, just something that you want to be a part of and enjoy with her those experiences. Whether it is, you've got a long day of work or whatnot, obviously she's going to see you working and whatnot, and how she understands it and perceives it is a big way. So awesome. So what do you think is something that kind of you wish more dads understood about raising daughters? Because obviously reading this book doesn't give us the, all the answers and questions, and we're all going to make mistakes. So what's something that you've seen or experienced that you wish more girl dads knew?
Yeah, I think there's really no cookie cutter like parent like this program or, framework, because it really is so unique to the daughter, right? And how she needs to be shown up for. And I think really when it comes down to, what's something I wish more dads understood is just, it's really all about getting to know your daughter. And if you have multiple daughters, you might do one thing that works well with one, but it doesn't work well with the other. And it really comes down to making sure that you know exactly who she is, what she cares about, what her favorite things are, how she thinks, because that'll help set you up for being the best father you can, because you'll understand, kind of her thought process and where she's coming from. And I think with girls, but women in general, I always use this like iceberg analogy. I think we say like what's on the top of the iceberg, right? So that's what you guys get to hear, but really what we mean is like underneath the water, it's all these other things. And so really getting to know who she is first and foremost, but then also being able to uncover these layers even in conversations by saying things like, tell me more, and just keep like uncovering until you really get to the core of what she's asking for or what she needs from you. I think that's really, really helpful. And when it comes to getting to know her in general, I think learning her love language is another really great place to start. Are you guys familiar with the love languages?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's quality time, words of affirmation, physical touch, gifts, and acts of service. So yeah, every daughter has, and every human really has a different love language, right? And it might be different than the one that they express to others. So she might, give you words of affirmation, always telling you how much she loves you and, oh, you look so cute in your tie or whatever, like, but she might need physical touch or she might need quality time. And so a lot of times they're different. And I think the more the dads can, read into this and really get to know their daughters and understand how she needs you to show up for her, the better off you'll be. And the easier it'll set you up for success.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome. The love language is so huge. And you saying that just kind of right now, my daughter's love languages are passy, but but I think thinking about what she needs even right now is kind of in my head is like I can identify some of her love languages right now. And that's so key and important to bring up, because understanding that will help you truly kind of get further down, peel those layers back and be there for her, understand her better. Because of course there will be, the times when she's maybe a teenager, we don't get along, doesn't want anything to do with us, but still, not making those parts of life, so bad, or kind of how it's the perception of it. Oh, you got to deal with her as a teenager. Oh, you've got to deal with this. But I think it also comes to yourself, kind of understanding yourself and understanding her in terms of, okay, what is she going through right now in life? Whether at whatever age, and like you said, understanding a love language to see what does she need and how does she really truly understand and receive, love. So that's a great point. So I appreciate you mentioning that for sure. And definitely head is the wheels are just turning and it's trying to be, best dad ever. So, but, so tell us a little about your mom and dad, your dad, obviously an amazing person from what we can read about. How was things with your mom? How was she when you told her about this book? Was she like, well, where's my book?
That's coming soon.
Give us a little bit of insight about your mom and the amazing relationship you had with her as well.
Yeah, my mom is the most incredible woman too. I got really lucky when it came to parents. Obviously, you don't get to choose that, and I'm extremely grateful for the family that I was born into. But my mom is an elementary school teacher, so she's a saint.
Wow.
Yeah, she's just so patient and so loving, and has just always been there for me. We have a great relationship, always have. And I feel like it's pretty natural for young girls or teenage girls, I guess, to pull away a little bit from their fathers during those teenage years and then kind of come back after they mature a little bit. But during that time, a lot of times they kind of pull more towards the mother. And that was definitely true for me. Again, I never, had a bad relationship with my dad, but I definitely became super, super close to my mom during the teenage years. And we've stayed, great, I would say even like best friends. And she's just amazing. And so I learned a lot from her as well. She was really supportive of this book. I did tell her like, hey, I know this is Girl Dad, but like, you're also my number one, And so she's been really supportive of that and my journey to help. And I think, in general, and this isn't for everyone, but in general, women just naturally have a easier, relationship with their daughters from the start. It's not so like foreign, or there's not as many concepts that are as scary, I would say, as where with men, having a daughter can be very anxiety inducing for some of them. And so I think just that mother-daughter relationship comes naturally. So the idea for Girl Dad isn't so much because I have a great relationship with my dad and not my mom. It's more just that this, I think, is a message that is more needed in the world than, Girl Mom is. But I am so grateful for both my parents and for their relationship and for what they've taught me to look for. And my mom's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Elementary teacher. Just education teachers they deserve the world and every kind of medal possible just because of what they go through, especially my teachers and what I put them through. So knowing that, all that. So that's awesome. That's great to hear about your mom. And you can't choose who your parents are, but, your parents can choose to be what type of parent they want to be. Yeah. So that's amazing to hear your story and kind of what they helped develop into you and your sisters and help you, create this book, share this journey, share this story, and continue and help other dads become amazing fathers. So loving the experience and the journey that you kind of shared with us. So let's kind of maybe turn away from the book a little bit and do some kind of rapid fire, fun, quick questions if you're ready, if you're up for it. So, let's go with what's the best book you've read recently?
Besides your book.
Honestly, I've been in a really strong fiction kick. But I wouldn't say that's necessarily like the best books. I love to read, so I do read a lot. I would say one of my favorite books that I would like to read again is The Comfort Crisis. Have you guys read that?
I'm not.
Okay, it is. It is amazing. I feel like everyone should read it. It's about how we're all too comfortable in general as Americans, or I guess today's society. We can Postmate our food, we can Uber anywhere we want, it's just, life is very quote unquote easy. And so it's all about like getting back to, or getting uncomfortable to grow. And so the story is kind of like two stories happening at once. One is a hunt in Alaska, and the other is more of just like science behind being too comfortable and some of the negative consequences of that, like depression and anxiety and these things. And so it talks about how like fasting or doing hard things, sauna, ice bath, these things are just so good for you, which I think, we're learning more and more about this in general, but I think it's really a fascinating book and has a lot of great takeaways. My fiance actually read it first, and then he kind of like made me read it, and he like was so inspired by it, he went backpacking by himself, and then he took me backpacking, and it's definitely had a positive impact on our lives. So highly recommend.
Oh,
hey, we'll make that note.
That is awesome. It's interesting because on the podcast in the past, when we talk more about entrepreneurship and all that, like, you honestly live in uncomfortability all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's always uncomfortable. There's always that like pit in your throat and whatnot. And so it builds resilience. And there's there's a saying that like easy times create weak people create hard times create strong people, and then strong people create easy times, and it's just a cycle. And so
Yep.
here we're at, I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, completely agree. So okay, that's awesome. Definitely I'm going to take a look at that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, big one here. Would you rather give up coffee or social media for a year?
Okay, social media for sure. Like I almost want to give it up just immediately.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Social media for me is just a lot of business, because in real estate, you kind of got to put yourself out there to attract customers, clients, be a resource in the real estate world. So, with social media, I've had conversations with my brother a lot about it, and even reading the book, Subtle Art of Not Giving.
Yes.
Talks a lot about kind of how social media is such a detriment to the world for mental health purposes, and that kind of resonated with me because I reread that probably about a year or so ago, and now having a daughter, how unfortunate social media can be for mental health when, and men don't think of it that way in some certain perspectives, but when you have, influencers or creators or IG models or whatnot, you realize and see that this channel and network is creating some different perceptions of the world, in terms of how you compare yourself to somebody else, how you only see the limelight of what that person has or doesn't have, and how that can truly and negatively affect social media. And I've had so many different conversations about social media with different people. And again, sorry to go off on a rant,
No, it's
rapid
good.
fire. But that's a heavy impact too on how we adapt with having a daughter and how we introduce social media to them. We have nieces, Vikas and I have nieces and nephews that are in college or going into college, and that space of life, that Snapchat and all that stuff is just a major source and part of their lives. And you're just like, man, how do we introduce that? So I guess maybe a question that just popped in my head: any insight on how your dad would have introduced social media and that whole world to you? And obviously you're very young, so I know social media was probably a little bit more in the life of your childhood or whatnot. But yeah, any insight on that? Maybe how your dad would have introduced that to you?
So my dad doesn't have social media, and I think he would approve of us all just deleting our social medias. So that's probably his standpoint on it. I would say that, as a father, he didn't necessarily have any direct, comments on social media besides maybe like get off your phone. But but I think what he did to help us be protected from some of the things that you mentioned about social media is we spent a lot of time like camping as kids. He took us outdoors a lot. He did a lot of things with us that pulled us away from phones and technology and was more about quality time. There was never phones at the dinner table and things like that. So it was always about being present and spending time away from tech. And then also just, I think when it comes to boosting and setting the right foundation for your daughter's confidence, there's a lot you can do that have nothing to do with social media, but by kind of like building that self-esteem and her understanding of her self-worth, she's protected from some of these things that you mentioned and some of the natural things. And don't get me wrong, I think every girl, is fall towards, comparing themselves to other girls via social media, but it's a different kind of comparison when you can take it very lightly, and just move on and you feel confident in your skin and you know who you are, than if you really feel like, your life isn't as good as, someone else's life because that's what they're posting about, and you feel jealous and you feel all these horrible emotions that you shouldn't have to feel, but just because of the nature of social media, you do. So I guess my two main takeaways there, and sorry to just ramble, is that number one, make time outside of the phone, like make sure you're showing her the world through another lens besides social media and her phone. And then number two is help boost her confidence in lots of different ways, so that when it comes to social media, she already knows who she is and she feels happy about who she is as a person, not about what she looks like or how skinny she is or whatever these things are that girls worry about when they are comparing themselves to others on social media.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Man, I love that. And that's something that didn't really hit, but or think that I didn't think of. But yeah, being essentially proactive. If you can hear this outside noise, but if you're already confident in your skin, like you said, then you don't need to worry about the outside noise, the outside world, or comparing, because your self-worth, who you are, and as a dad, you can help build that confidence by being there, doing outdoor things away from the phones, and helping them have good experiences overall. So, awesome. No, I'm glad I asked that question. I'm glad that kind of came to mind, because it wasn't in our pre-notes there. So, very helpful for sure for myself and a lot of viewers, and both boy dads and girl dads too, because males go through mental health issues and comparison type things. Of course, men are, just bottle it down maybe more or whatnot. But no, I appreciate that's very helpful insight for sure. Back to the rapid fire questions. What is your dream travel destination? Maybe you've already been there or want to go. What's your dream spot?
Oh yeah, this is actually so hard. So I studied abroad in Australia when I was a student at UCLA, and that was a dream, and I would love to go back. So that's definitely on the list, but I'm actually planning my honeymoon right now. So I feel like I'm about to embark on this dream travel destination. We haven't booked it yet, but the idea is that we're going to Barcelona, Mallorca, and Portugal. So
wow. Yes.
Really excited about that trip because it's just around the corner too. And yeah.
Oh, awesome. I love that. Again, going off on another tangent. So are you the first to get married of your three sisters?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So how is your dad doing?
Oh, he's definitely emotional. I think he's really excited though. He has been wanting to throw a wedding. I can tell. Like he's just been talking about, whenever we get married from day one. So that's been really fun to kind of go through this and curate it. We're doing it's going to be in a backyard, and it'll be in the desert, like Palm Desert area. And we're doing it, kind of how we want. And we're a big golf family. My dad taught me to golf when I was a little girl, same with my younger sisters. And so on Thursday before the wedding, we're doing a big golf scramble with anyone who golfs or wants to golf. And he's like really excited about that, of course. And then, so he's been a huge part of the planning process. And I've been excited to share the ideas with both him and my mom about all that we're going to do. And it's going to be really fun. So I know he's looking forward to it.
Sorry to go off on a cuff real quick, but as a DJ, I would love to know, especially based on this book, have you thought about what's the father-daughter song?
Yeah.
You guys are going to dance.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Of course, now that I'm on the spot, I'm going to blank, but it was our song for another father-daughter dance that I did in when I graduated high school for a national charity league. It's like this charity program that mothers and daughters do together. But we had a father-dauher dance, and oh my gosh,
awesome.
Oh, it's gonna come to me, and I'll have to just
figured it out, right?
Yes, no, but it's Forever Young by
nice.
Yeah.
Love that.
Awesome.
Man.
That's your dad's gonna be a mess during that
I
time.
I know.
All the way.
Every father I know for a fact is a mess when they do their daughter dance, because there's songs out right now, like Post Malone came out with a song that's about his daughter. Kane Brown, if you can't tell, I'm a country fan. But Kane Brown just came out, and I sent it to I have a friends group, and most of the guys in there are girl dads, and they were all texting like, "What the hell? I'm at the gym, and now you're making me cry." Yes, every girl dad is definitely emotional, no matter how tough they make it say, and for all these songs. So yeah, your dad's gonna be a wreck, but it's happy tears and joyful. So that's awesome for you. Congratulations,
Thank
by the way,
you.
as well.
Yes, congratulations.
Okay, speaking of music, what is the best concert you've ever been to?
Okay, well, speaking of country music, it's actually been a long time since I've been to a concert, but I would say that the best one I've ever been to was probably Stagecoach, just because
And
it was so much fun, and you got to, like, see a bunch of different artists, but then also again it's in Palm Desert, which is obviously a fun place that I enjoy. But we went with a huge group of friends in college, and we stayed in a house together, and it was just such a fun time hanging by the pool. I love the sun, so even if it's 100 degrees, I'm happy. So I was just out there thriving.
oh man, that's all. Yeah, Stagecoach is definitely on the bucket list. I think Luke Combs is going to be there this year, and he's one of the headliners. So, but yeah, that Stagecoach is amazing from what I've seen on social media and stuff. But cool. And then tough one here. If you could have dinner with any three people, alive or historical, who would they be?
Okay, so Matthew McConaughey for sure. I love him, and I think he just has so many insights. You could just talk to him forever and learn, like, every minute something new. And so, have you read The Green Lights? That's another one of my favorite books.
No.
Okay, so I would read that too, and I would do the audio version because it's him talking, and
It's him. Yes, I've
he's
heard
just
that.
so good. So highly recommend that. And then for the others, I would probably do like my great 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 grandparents or something on either side to learn more about family history and what life was like. I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, that's a good one. Oh man. All right.
Yeah, I think that gets forgotten a lot. That people are like they're thinking about some big historical figure or whatnot, and then they forget, like, oh no, let me talk to my ancestors and get insight on their life and how we became who we are and stuff. So yeah, that's a really good one. You got a third one?
I would say my ancestors on the other side. I mean, there's just so many ancestors. I mean, the tree branches out, so I'd love to talk to all of them.
Yes. Awesome. No, appreciate you playing that game with us. Definitely insightful. Wasn't a rapid fire one because we took some tangents
We went off tangents.
Good conversations for sure. So where do we go from here? What is the future looking like? Obviously, in the personal world, you're getting married, but where does Girl Dad go from here? Is there Girl Dad Part 2? Share with us kind of what's next for you, any other projects in the work.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a few book ideas that I'm working on, but nothing to share yet there. But my main focus has been Girl Dad Network, which is the online membership community that has courses, resources, like gift guide, activity guide, and handwritten note templates. And then every month I do live calls with the dads so that they can bring up some real-time situations and get advice from the other dads, and from myself providing the daughter perspective. So that's been a real focus lately. And then I'll be launching a Girl Dad podcast soon, but that'll be after the wedding. So I'd say just kind of growing the Girl Dad Network community and continuing to improve father-daughter relationships through that community, and then launching the podcast soon. And that's we'll see where it goes from there. But I think the Girl Dad vision will continue to grow and evolve, and I'm excited to see where it takes me and where it leads to as far as impact.
Love that.
For a lot of people that are girl dads that are in our network and watch us, if anyone wanted to join that network, where can they go to find out more?
They can go to girldadnetwork.com.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Everyone sign up for Girl Dad Network, all right?
Thank you.
This is definitely a story and a network that needs to be spread, because this, I think, what you're doing and what you're sharing and the journey that you're on is so helpful and so needed for this generation of dads. Kind of Vikas and I grew up in a different space, Indian American, first generation born here. Our parents were entrepreneurs, gas stations, convenience stores, whatnot. So we kind of had different experiences in that world that shaped us for who we are, of course, and impacted us in different ways. But I think what's a lot on the minds of a lot of dads now is just how we can, how we can be the best parent and father we can. So kudos to you on, having the courage to do this, change your journey and do this and share the story and continue the network on. So I did join the network, so I'm excited to kind of get on those calls and be a part of that. But yeah, so then how are you hoping this book impacts fathers and families overall? Kind of what's your vision there?
Yeah, I really want this to be a snowball effect. I think what I'm really after is strengthening the family unit. And I think the best way to do that, or where it might need the most help right now, is through fathers and daughters. And I think that when there's strong father-daughter relationships, the daughters grow up to be mothers, and then it all snowballs. And when fathers understand these concepts and principles, it doesn't just apply to the daughters. It really is about human connection. And the more that dads can, connect with others and understand others and set the right intentions and all these things that are taught throughout Girl Dad, then they can apply it to all kinds of different relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, work relationships. And I think it just overall makes the world a better place. So I guess that's the larger hope of my impact, is just to make the world a better and a happier place.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
That's
perfect.
Beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously kind of coupled into that. So what's one lasting message about fatherhood? If you could leave one lasting message, what would that be?
Live with intention.
Boom.
Nailed it. Perfect. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing, because you can operate life just going through the motions.
Yep.
Or you can be, have the intention, the mindset to be the best, whatever it is you want to be. So how did you come up with that? Is that something you just kind of gathered over your journey of life? Or because I know that's a big part of the book as well. So
yeah, I think, today I just kind of came up with that because we've been talking a lot about being intentional and just the importance of living with intention. So it felt right for our conversation today. But I think that it's something that everyone should apply in all facets of their life, right? Like, be intentional about the job that you're choosing and how you're spending your time and how you're showing up for your family and friends. It's a beautiful thing to live with intention. So that's why it was on my mind.
That's great.
No, this has been an amazing time together. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us and talk about your book, this amazing book you wrote. And it sounds like it can spiderweb and, like you said, snowball effect into so much more. And I love to hear that you're pioneering that to continue to get that to grow, because it's a very much needed thing, and it will have such a huge impact, like you said, on the daughter, the father, their other relationships, their current relationships, and then that change will then lead to other change and the human connections and everything that comes from that. So I really appreciate the time and you being so welcoming and open to joining us. You are, like I said, I was fangirling earlier. You're, a huge person that means so much to me and Ziana now as well, because I've learned so much from you, and I'm excited to see you grow and your journey continue. So we appreciate you joining. Any final words that you'd like to share?
I would just like to thank you guys both so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and I'm excited to see your podcast continue to grow and evolve as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. And you are coming to Cincinnati in May. So we'll definitely talk offline and figure out a plan of how we can, host something together. Because what's already in my mind is I'm already going to gift all of my Girl Dad colleagues and friends this book because it's a must read, and I've told a few of them about it already. So I'm gifting all of them the books and hoping we can kind of collaborate and do some type of fun event, because like myself, I'm confident they're going to be fangirling as well.
Let's do it. No, that would be so fun.
Yeah, excited to see you in person and have you visit good old Cincinnati from the sunny West Coast. But Awesome. Thank you so much. Vikas, you want to take us out?
Yep. So first of all, thank you, Madeline. Thank you, Varun. And thank you to all of our viewers, listeners, everyone that's been supporting us. Thank you for listening to episode 3 of the Listings and Lullabies, a Girl Dad's Journey podcast with your host, Varun Varma. My name is Vikas Sandhi with our special guest, author Madeline Anderson. Please don't forget to check out our website, girldadspodcast.com. Do not forget to go support Madeline Anderson, the author of Girl Dad, the book at girldadthebook.com. Please join her network, girldadnetwork.com. And don't forget to follow us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Instagram, all of that. Thank you again, everyone. And thank you, Madeline.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Madeline.
Right.
Thanks, everyone, for watching and listening. We'll see you on the next one.